Welcome to the journey. We continue in these explorations of these beautiful disciplines, these practices that draw us closer to God, that put us in that place in the presence of God. And today's is one of those discussions. We're discussing service. And when we discuss service, it's so easy to talk about what we do, the actions we are involved in, sometimes the bragging we go through, and it becomes a challenge in this practice, this discipline, of what direction the focus is. Too often, I believe I have fallen into the trap, and maybe you have as well, of doing service because it's the right thing I'm supposed to do, and I do it, and I tend to want to make sure people know I'm doing it. And yet, the beauty of the discipline of service is not about what I do, but the willingness of my heart to do. The willingness of my heart to respond, to care for the other. I love how Richard Foster talks about it as the act of carrying the towel, the act of washing feet. As Jesus there in that upper room so powerfully gave this example while the disciples were arguing over who would be the greatest, none of them were willing to become the servant. And what a powerful statement, become the servant. There's a difference between forced slavery and choosing to be a servant. And so as Paul says, he's a servant to Christ. He chose that. He was not a slave to Christ because he had been in bondage, but rather because of his freedom, he had the opportunity to choose to be a servant of God, to go on the works, carry on the ministry that God had called him to. And so as I think about that for my life, as I think about what I am doing in ministry, but as well as just in everyday life, is my focus on being a servant, the servant of God. Not because I have to, not because I'm in bondage to, but rather because in my freedom I get to choose, and I choose because of the greatness of God. I choose to serve, to have a greater experience with God, to set aside the things of this world that may feel like they are most important, to set those aside and serve others. Not because I have to, not because I'm bondage, but because of what Jesus has done to free me from sin. And so service is a beautiful, beautiful discipline. It starts within the heart and flows out. And may that be our focus of having our heart desire to serve. May we focus on letting Christ transform that part of our character, that we are thankful and rejoice in being the servant of others, to serve others just as Christ has been that servant in so beautifully defined way of dying on the cross for us, but even before that, serving as healings that he did, the miracles he performed, all of those things that brought people to him. And now he invites us into that same service to bring people to him, that God may be glorified, that people may discover the love God has for them and the great gift and sacrifice Jesus made to save them. So service is a discipline. It draws us to Christ in unique ways. It draws the Holy Spirit into our lives to transform our hearts because it doesn't come naturally to choose to serve. And so may that be something that challenges us this week, to serve because God has served us, and that we naturally choose to, out of our freedom, choose to be servants. What a beautiful opportunity we have. Take advantage of that this week.